Fall.
You.
Oh, so you can laugh, but you can't catch a brother. Man, ain't nobody trying to catch a double quarter pounder falling out of the sky. Don't underestimate fat people. They're surprisingly limber. You know, I'm kind of surprised you didn't blow up like... Alright, liches are powerful and often undead spellcasters, which means they're usually undead wizards, sorcerers, or clerics, who have achieved immortality by trapping their soul in a phylactery. And a phylactery is a small black letter box containing Torah verses worn by observant Jewish men on the arm and forehead during weekday morning prayers. But can a cat play in it? I mean, it may offend some people, but I guess so, yeah. Ha! Yes! Up yours, Jewish men! You won't observe it enough! Now, they trap their soul in this phylactery using dark necromantic rituals. And liches mostly appear as skeletal or withered corpses. And in most stories and in folklore, they can only be permanently destroyed by destroying their phylactery. And right off the bat, this isn't the type of being that you think that could be presented as a waifu, but yeah, they'll do it. Unfortunately though, in old folktales, there are no female liches, only men. But there are female liches in more modern stories like D&D. Now, the main male lich that I read about in Slavic tales was named Kashe, the Deathless. And he was apparently a lich who stole beautiful princesses and hoarded them in another realm, like treasures. Why does that low-key sound like the Ice King? Hey, Ryza gotta get inspiration from somewhere. So, this lich is a gooner. Yes, sweet.
One of us! One of us!
This also brings up a possible pro, because if the lich was a female, it would likely kidnap men instead. Which probably sounds good to the average gooner, until you realize that liches have magical abilities over the dark arts, arcane magic, necromancy, and some stories that can manipulate your soul, and in some variations, they have something called life drain and touch. And depending on the story, that ability can do different things in general, but also, realistically, an encounter with a female lich that was actually attractive would probably end up somewhat like this.
Oh, yeah.
Would you please let me suck it out?
Absolutely.
Based! My boy about to get lucky. Yeah, so drain touch is bad? Ha! Bullshit! When he dies, I'm trying to tag in. You know what I'm saying? Like, choo choo! Anyways, liches have a lot of powers, and most of those powers do deal in magic, and magic can be useful, so I'll count that as a pro. And before I forget, Kashe the Deathless did do something weird with his phylactery. Apparently in his story, he hid his soul or his death, and in this context that's the same thing, inside a needle, and he hid the needle inside of an egg, and the egg inside of a duck, and the duck was in a hare, and the hare is in a chest, and the chest is hidden on an island that exists only during certain phases of the moon. Bro was not taking any chances. Bro really wanted the goon forever. Now, besides the pros I already told you, everything else about a lich from folklore is basically a con. And I mean, more or less, they're ugly, undead skeletal monsters that can raise the dead and live for as long as their phylactery stays intact. And Kashe isn't trying to be gooned to by no female gooners. He's trying to be the one gooning. So, in my mind, that brings up two questions. Is it wise to smash a lich? And how many female liches in fiction can be deemed smashable? Let's find out. Alright, the first one on our list is Valakth, the 157th of her name, and the Lich Queen ruler of the Githyanki race. Now, the Githyanki are a race of astral plane dwellers and survivors of a long enslavement by mind flayers, and they became ruthless pillagers and raiders of many worlds in the prime material plane. And just to make them sound a little bit better, the hottest one looks like this. So yeah, this is the race that Valakth, the 157th, rules over, and her first con is she's really not the best looking Githyanki. Still would. Another con for her is she's too freaking powerful and paranoid. And how can I say this in slang terms?
You one crazy ass bitch.
Oh, and she's evil. Basically, in her backstory, she died after ascending to the throne without giving birth to an heir. But eventually she returned to the throne as a lich with a mindset worse than Homelander. And that's not an exaggeration. Oh no. Because after centuries of undeath, she grew mad. Imagine the Joker with power, but as a woman. Screw smashing for a second, you wouldn't even want to be in the same room as this woman. Because she's not only paranoid, she's primarily jealous. And another con is, she's willing to eat the souls of those who have reached a certain level of strength, regardless of the con, to secure her position and bolster her own personal strength. And she does this because she wants to be a deity, or in other words, a god. So in other words, if she even thinks you're more powerful than she is or has the potential to be more powerful than she is, she's going to off you. And another con of hers is that she is an animated corpse. And in the context of Dungeons & Dragons and Baldur's Gate 3, this means her form is skeletal and her skin is stretched over bones and empty eye sockets. Wait a minute, Knight, but the pro is she can change her form with magic, which means she can make herself as high as she wants. Yes, but her true form is always going to be that skeletal form. And I'm pretty sure a woman using magic to make herself look better is the equivalent of a woman using makeup or plastic surgery to make herself look better. Which means she may look good in the moment, but eventually that skin's going to wrinkle and tear. It's going to be like getting blackout drunk and waking up in a house for like 5 ugly fat chicks. Sounds good to me. That's like 1,000,000 pounds of love right there, bruh. And I don't need her to be beautiful forever. In fact, she can keep that face the same way. I'll just ask her to assume the position.
Assume the position.
Then once she assumes it,
Ow, right in the kitchen.
and then I'm gone, like Houdini. She ain't the only one with Magic Knight. Oh no, black men have been disappearing a woman for years, and to this day, we only got caught when the law got involved. What is wrong with you? Oh, and I forgot to mention, she big. She very big, oh yeah. Which means, viewer, she can give you the uppies. And if she decides to kill you, possibly death. Don't start that voice. Bye, Snoo Snoo! Oh, screw this. She's evil and insane, and her Lich body is fortified by negative energy. This means that she causes harm to those who touch her. And this also means she can paralyze her victims with a mere touch. And she wears a crown of corruption that can drain the life force from creatures and animate them as undead under her command. Which means she can use necromancy. But necromancy is a pro too, because that means basically, you'll never die. She can give you Snoo Snoo forever. But voice, you'll be a slave. A slave to that booty. Sounds like a win, Knight. Well, it's not. That's because you're weak. And just because she's evil doesn't mean she can't change. She just needs some good D from a real one.
Bruh.
Next one on our list is Whiz. And she's also known as the Ice Witch, the Queen of the Undead, and the Pitiful Shopkeeper. She may not have no money, but I know how she can make some. Yeah. Now, Whiz is a major supporting character in the anime Konosuba. And if you haven't watched the anime yet, you need to. It's what I would call peak comedy. Now anyway, in Whiz's past, she was a former adventurer who retired after becoming a Lich and a Devil King general. Now as a general, she does contain a barrier around the Demon King's castle, but that's it. Other than that, in her retirement in a city called Axel, she's running a failing magic shop. Now, before I continue, you're obviously wondering, how did Whiz even become a Lich in the first place? And why isn't she a skeleton or in a skeletal form like other Liches in other series? Well,
Good news, everyone.
I have the answer. And long story short, when Whiz was an adventurer, she made a deal with Veneer to become a Lich to save her party members from the curse placed on them by Beldia, Adulahan, and another Demon King general under the main Demon King. So he cursed Whiz's party, and to save her party, Whiz goes to Veneer and makes a deal with Veneer, which turns her into a Lich, but also gave her immense power, which she then used to face Baldia and get him to undo the curse on her friends. And apparently after this, she became a Demon King general, not by force, but because it was part of a deal to pay for the damages of the castle, which she stormed in to take on Baldia. So more or less, that's how she became a Lich. And apparently, Liches in Konosuba have no phylactery, and the overall ritual that Whiz went through to become a Lich didn't take away her consciousness, personality, or her body. And basically, she can maintain this beautiful form through daily maintenance, by eating, drinking, and washing regularly. So yes, underneath all this, she has a naturally curvy, busty form that's very clean and non-skeletal. Oh, say less, bruh. Smash. Hey, I'm not done. But do you really need to say any more, though? Well, maybe not. She's hot, but not perfect. And even though she's a pacifist, constantly in her 20s, at least by appearance, and a very humble person, she still is undead. Plus, another con for her is she has a bad business sense, and she invests every bit of money she can get her hands on into the shop that she owns. But it would seem the harder she works, the further she falls into debt, leaving her in a constant state of poverty. And due to this poverty, she is desperate to find ways to earn extra money to pay her rent. She also survives on nothing but bread crust and sugar water at times, and lives at a constant risk of going bankrupt. So all I'm hearing is that she's relatable, and all this jiggly goodness is just bread and sugar water? My viewers, can I get a ooh-wee? But voice, she eats bread and sugar water, and for sure it fuels her body and magic, but I also read that she doesn't use a toilet. Well look, now we all know where it's going. Well, I mean, either it's going there or she's constipated. Don't care. Either way, that's a pro for someone out there. What? Smash and moving on. Hey! Alright viewers, it's time to talk about the best Lich. I thought that was Whiz. Silence fool, let me cook. It's not gonna be from the Monster Girl Encyclopedia. It's gonna be from the Monster Girl Encyclopedia. Yeah. The books where all the Monster Girls are little freaks, and they live off a man's fluids like water. But voice, wouldn't that already mean she's already wise to smash? Just because they'll suck the fluid out of you like a vampire does not mean they won't kill you afterwards or during the process. They're still monsters, Knight. Okay, I'll let you cook. Pervert. Pervert! Yeah, that's right. Cat pervert.
I have done.
That's king of the cat perverts to you, mister. Now, lock in, men, because this one's a doozy. And by a doozy, I mean she's almost perfect. Almost, but not quite. Because in this world, Liches are powerful human sorceresses who change into undead. And there are also those in this world who become Liches of their own accord in pursuit of eternal life and limitless knowledge. And like other Liches, they can use necromancy, which can raise the dead or more or less reanimate corpses. But these Liches can do other things that other Liches from other stories can't do. For instance, this one can do something called Euromancy, which manipulates lust and heightens pleasure. And before I forget, I must mention that this Lich is a lolly. But then again, the book doesn't call her a lolly, she's just a short woman. Don't overthink it, this book's for adults. But it is a con because her looks may turn some off. Until you realize they can imbue their body with various spells by their own hand to become more lascivious, sensitive, and insatiably lustful. And they do this so they can obtain more of the man's essence and pleasure. In other words, viewer, they can make themselves a whole lot thicker. And in this world, Liches have a strong fixation with a thirst for knowledge of sorcery and the pleasures of getting down and dirty. Oh yeah. And this mentality awakened for them after they became monsters. So even in death, they continued their lewd magical research and experiments to master sorcery and to reach the depths of pleasure. And another pro is, a human man is absolutely necessary for them to replenish their magic power. And again, they'll replenish their magic power by taking a man's essence. You know what that means, stop playing. Anyway, in this sense, the man's body serves as their test subject. And this means you're their test subject in more ways than one. Because she's not asking for consent, oh no. The way it works in this world is that they spot a man, they'll aggressively attack the man in an attempt to subdue him. They won't have to fight hard though, most will go willingly. Now once they catch you, they'll put spells on their own body and the man's body to increase the pleasure. And this is more than just one spell, they're using various spells to maximize the pleasure and to more or less charm the man. And the man will be so charmed that he'll be only focused on basically her body. Which, then again, you don't really need magic for that, but okay. Now another pro is, most of them don't take much interest in others. Or in other words, they don't seem to take more than one partner. But the partner they do take, they choose as their husband. And the man is going to be the Lich's one and only partner who shares the greatest pleasures with her. And the Lich will have an even stronger attachment to the man than even sorcery. And the man who became the Lich's husband will spend the rest of his days basically getting down and dirty. You know, studying, you know, right? Then again, they might as well both say just fuck the books at this point. But then again, I guess the constant, you know, getting down and dirty has a point to it, which is, in the book's words, reaching the depths of pleasure and sorcery. And the man more or less will be doing this for eternity. Now, one possible con is they use their phylactery in a unique way. And they basically use it to separate their soul from the pleasure and the essence their body receives. But now, if the phylactery is damaged, their soul will return to their body. And in simple terms, they will basically go ape shit. Which could also mean possible magical snoo-snoo, but only this time because she's a Lich. She'll just keep raising you up from the dead using necromancy, and you won't be able to escape the snoo-snoo. So it'll be like a constant pounding forever. Well, I know which one I'm choosing from this list. Now tell us who your favorite Lich is in the comments. And are there any more with backstories that we could talk about? If so, tell us in the comments, and eventually we'll make a part 2. Now, you guys have a great day, and hopefully you had a wonderful Easter. Bye!
Wanted you, wanted all the cats.